I thought my life ended the day the alarms went off in Novatech Biolab, the day I was framed. 20 years. A sentence I didn't deserve, alone, an Omega, and pregnant. They say Omegas don't survive here. That I'm prey, and maybe they're right. But then him, Lucien Ward, the Alpha everyone fears. The only one who could save me. In a prison designed to destroy, I had to fight, not just to survive, but to protect the life I carry, and maybe find someone I never thought I'd trust. Don't forget to subscribe to Sweet Serenity. I've replayed the moment my life ended 1,000 times in my head, and every time, it begins with the same sound. A piercing alarm splitting the air of the Novatech Biolab, shrilly enough to rattle the bones in my wrists as I froze in the doorway. Back then, I thought it was a glitch, a system error. I had no idea it was the sound of a trap closing. My name is Theo Arden, Omega researcher, once considered one of the youngest biosynth analysts in Helixon City's history. Now, a prisoner, a number, a cautionary tale whisper under the metallic hum of neon lights. I should have known the world had teeth sharp enough to tear a man like me apart, but I was foolish enough to believe I was safe, wrapped in the sterile brightness of a lab, doing work I believed could save lives. Until the day they told me I'd taken them instead. The memory still clings to me like toxic dust. I remember stepping into Lab Sector 7, the cold scent of steel mixed with sterilizers filling my lungs. I had barely scanned my badge when the shutter slammed down, thick, armored plate sealing the exits with a thunderous finality. My heart tripped and stumbled. I rushed to the viewing window just in time to see security drones swarming like metallic insects, raid sensors glowing with accusation. Then came the voice, sharp, metallic, unforgiving. Biohazard containment failure traced to workstation A13. Primary suspect, research analyst Theo Arden. My workstation, my name. And just like that, the ground fell out beneath me. At first, I laughed, stupid, nervous laughter, the kind that comes when your brain short circuits. But the laughter died the second the drones tore into the room, immobilizing me with magnetic cuffs that dug into my skin. I shouted that I didn't do anything, that there had to be a malfunction, that someone tampered with the readings. No one listened. In a tech-driven world, once the system decides you're guilty, people stop needing proof. The next 48 hours were a blur of interrogation chambers, cold digital screens displaying falsified logs, and officers whose expressions were carved from stone. They played footage, edited footage showing me entering the vault I had never stepped foot in. They showed chemical signatures on my gloves, signatures you damn well were planted. But the worst part, Caleb didn't show up. My fiancé, my alpha gone, silent, absent as the world buried me. I didn't know then that he was the one who fed me to the wolves. By the time the trial happened, it wasn't really a trial, it was a performance, a farce. A scripted show for the justice system's automated verdict machine. Biosabotage carried a mandatory sentence, 20 years, no parole. And so I was shipped here. Helixon Penitentiary 1, the most advanced maximum security prison in the Helixon system, floating above a barren moon, encased in alloys so strong they claimed nothing could break out or break in. A place built to swallow humanity whole. I thought I knew what fear was. I hadn't even scratched the surface. The moment I stepped into cell block C, it hit me, an atmosphere so thick with testosterone, pheromones, and hostility that it clung to my skin like all dozens of alphas watching me with predatory curiosity, as if they could smell the fresh fear rolling off me. My sense suppressors were already weakening. The stress was eating through them too quickly. Omegas weren't common here. In fact, they were practically non-existent, which made me prey. I walked down that metallic hallway while guards watched with bored indifference. Prisoners whisper under the neon lights, whispers about my scent, my chances of survival, baits already made on my breakdown timeline. Every step echoed with the knowledge that I would not last long here. Not on my own, not as an Omega with no allies, and certainly not with a secret bursting in my chest like a ticking bomb. I was pregnant. 2 weeks, only 2 weeks since the test. Hidden, quiet, impossible to admit, because in this place, that confession could kill me. But Omegas in early pregnancy produce subtle pheromone shifts alphas could detect if they got too close, and they would. Soon, I hadn't slept in days because of that thought alone. On my third date, I met Jackson, older inmate with cybernetic joints and sharp eyes. He studied me with a side that felt like he'd already read my whole story. "You won't make it here," he said bluntly. "An Omega. Fresh, soft. They'll tear you apart the moment your sense spikes." I swallowed hard. "I know." He shook his head. "No, kid, you don't know. Not yet." Then he leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "There's only one person who can keep you alive in this place. Only one Alpha, the others fear enough to stay away." My heart thudded with a dangerous mixture of hope and dread. "Who?" I asked. His lips curled into something between respect and fear. "Lucien Ward." The name hit the air like a blade. Even the walls seemed to flinch. I had heard it before, rumors spoken in a hutch. An Alpha, who once controlled entire sectors of the city. A man with enemies in every corner of the galaxy. A legend who supposedly tore through 8 armed guards when they tried to subdue him. A monster. A tyrant. A king fallen into a cage. "He doesn't take kin people," Jax warned. "If you ask him and he refuses, you're done. And even if he accepts you, the price," he shuddered. "It's a price you might not want to pay." Fear burned my throat. "What kind of price?" "Protection comes with ownership in here," he said. "And Lucien doesn't do temporary deals." I felt my pulse spike. My palm instinctively moved to my abdomen, a protective gesture I couldn't help. "How do I even find him?" Jax chuckled humorlessly. "You don't find Lucien Ward, he finds you." But the truth was, I didn't have the luxury of waiting. And as my sense suppressor continued to weaken, as Alphas continued to watch me like I was prey, as tension tightened around my ribs like a vice, I realized something with bone-deep certainty. Waiting meant dying. I would have to approach him, beg him, bargain for my life, and pray that whatever price he demanded wouldn't break me more than I already was. That night, as lights dimmed and the automated cell locks engaged, I lay on my hard cot staring at the ceiling, a sharp pane of luminescent glass that flickered whenever the prison shields shifted. My hand rested gently over my stomach. A life, a heartbeat, a secret. "I'll protect you," I whispered to the child who didn't ask to be born into my chaos. "I don't know how, but I promise I will." The promise tasted like desperation, fear, and determination lined with cracks. Tomorrow, I would do the unthinkable. Tomorrow, I would go to Lucien Ward, the most dangerous Alpha in Helixon Penitentiary, and I would ask him to save me, even if it meant giving him the power to destroy me. The morning, I decided to approach Lucien Ward. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was something deeper, heavier, the kind of dread that sits in your bones like cold metal. I'd spent the night rehearsing what to say, how to stand, how not to look weak in front of the most dangerous Alpha in Helixon Penitentiary. And still, as I walked into the common sector, every single word I practiced evaporated like steam. The common sector was a cavernous hall of polished steel floors, holographic surveillance grids, and inmates who watched everything like hawks ready to swoop. Alphas lounged here in clusters, their eyes following me. Some smirked, some whispered, some licked their lips. I forced myself not to flinch. Jax had pointed me toward the far corner, where shadows clung like loyal guard dogs. I knew the stories before I even laid eyes on him, whispers of brutality, power, influence. A man who commanded more fear inside a cage than most men did with armies at their back. And then I saw him, Lucien Ward. He sat alone, as if the space around him belonged solely to him. A silent kingdom carved out of metal and tension. His posture was relaxed, but in the way a predator lounges, never truly at ease, always assessing, always in control. Muscles coiled under the dark fabric of his prison-issued shirt. His hair black as starless space fell slightly over sharp eyes that flickered with a faint silver sheen. The unmistakable sign of alpha genetic augmentation. He didn't look at me, not at first, but I felt him sense my presence, like a gravitational pull. Every part of me screamed run, but another part whispered survive. I stepped closer, my voice almost broke. Lucien Ward. The moment his gaze lifted, my breath caught. His eyes were calm, unsettlingly still, as if nothing surprised him, not even the arrival of a trembling Omega who had no business coming anywhere near him. He didn't speak, just looked at me. I felt stripped under that gaze, seen, measured, categorized. "My name is Theo Arden," I began, swallowing the quiver in my voice. I need protection." A muscle in his jaw flexed. That was the closest thing to a reaction I got. "You're new," he said, voice smooth but cold like liquid metal. It wasn't a question, and desperate. He'd rushed to my face. Yes, the corner of his mouth lifted not a smile, but something bordering on mockery. Go back to your cell, Omega. His words hit me like a punch. I can't, I whispered. Please, I don't have time. My suppressors are failing and you should have thought about that before coming here. He cut in, leaning back. You're not my problem. My heart sank, air tightened in my chest. That if you don't help me, you'll die. He finished lazily. That's not my concern. Prison is survival of the fittest. You walked into a battlefield without armor. Anger flared through my fear. He didn't even know me, didn't know what I'd been through. Didn't know that every breath I took felt borrowed. I didn't choose to be here, I hissed. He raised a brow. No one does. My voice cracked, and not with weakness, but with exhaustion. I'm pregnant. Silence fell so thick it seemed to swallow the air. Lucien's expression didn't change, but something shifted, something subtle behind his eyes, like metal bending under too much pressure. He studied me again, slower this time, as if scanning for lies, as if peeling me open to the bone. Leave, he said quietly. Now, this time the dismissal wasn't cold, it was final, absolute, unmovable, a steel door slamming shut. My throat burned as I stepped back, humiliation washing over me. I had risked everything, exposed everything, for nothing. The room blurred as I turned away. I barely made it 5 steps before a shadow detached itself from a nearby table. Marcus, a hulking alpha with scars carved across his scalp, like violent signatures. I had seen him watching me since my first day, eyes filled with hunger and calculation. Now, he grinned like he'd just been handed a feast. My blood turned to ice. I am not. He grabbed my arm, fingers tightening with bruising force. His scent hit me like a chemical burn, aggressive, dominating, overpowering. I gagged on it. He laughed. Don't worry, I'll take real good. Instinct took over. Not logic, not strategy. Instinct. I shouted the only name I could think of. Lucien. The hall froze. Lucien Ward moved before I even saw him stand. 1 second Marcus had me, his grip. The next he was slammed against the wall with a force that shook the metal plates. Lucien's hand was wrapped around his throat, pinning him like he weighed nothing. The change in Lucien was terrifying. No calm, no stillness, just raw, lethal dominance that radiated like heat. You touch what's mine. Lucien's voice growled low, dangerous, vibrating through the air. Marcus choked. I never understood silence until I followed Lucien Ward into his private sector of the prison. Not the usual silence of a locked cell, not the sterile hush of isolation chambers. This silence was the kind that watched you. As the automatic door slid shut behind us, sealing me inside his world, the air seemed to thicken. A faint blue glow pulsed through the wall's security grids, reinforced energy barriers, systems only someone like Lucien could bypass or bend to his will. Every step I took echoed, too loud in a space built like a command center more than a prison quarter. I swallowed hard. This was the man I begged for protection, the man who claimed me publicly, the man every inmate feared like a god or a demon. Lucien walked ahead of me, slow and deliberate, not sparing a glance in my direction. I had no idea where he was taking me until he stopped before a reinforced steel door and pressed his hand to a biometric pad, something prisoners were never supposed to have access to. The lock clicked open. Inside was a surprisingly clean, spacious room, far better than my tiny cell. A real bed, a desk, a small console, a shower, a food dispenser. It wasn't luxury, but it was freedom compared to what I endured. This is yours now, Lucien said. My breath hitched. Why yours? You mean? His gaze flicked to me, slow, sharp, unreadable. No, he said quietly. Yours. The words unsettled me more than if he'd said the opposite. You claimed me earlier, I whispered. Why? His jaw flexed. Because that animal touched you. That still doesn't explain. Do you want to stay alive? Theo, he interrupted. I nodded, barely able to speak. Then don't question the methods, just follow the rules. My heart pounded. What rules? Lucien stepped closer, not touching, but close enough that his presence enveloped me completely. His scent hit me then, controlled and firm, not invasive. A grounding scent, a warning scent, a promise scent. Whatever it was, it made my knees tremble, not with fear, but with something deeper and dangerously comforting. My rules are simple, he said softly. 1. You stay in this room unless I bring you out. 2. No one touches you. 3. He paused, eyes darkening. You don't lie to me about anything. My pulse raced. And in exchange, I whispered. In exchange, Lucien said, lowering his voice, you live. I felt those words settle into my bones. Heavy, binding, a contract without a signature. But he wasn't done. You're pregnant, he added. And whether you like it or not, that makes you a target. Until your sentencing is revisited or until I burn this place down, you're under my protection. The way he said, it burned this place down made something cold twist in my stomach. Why do you care? I whispered. His expression shifted barely, but enough to reveal something buried deep. Pain, anger, rage so old it fossilized into bone. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned away, walking toward a console mounted on the wall. Sit, you need to eat, and talk. My stomach growled on cue. I hadn't eaten in almost 20 hours. I lowered myself onto the bed, instinctively protecting my abdomen. Lucien typed something into the console. A tray slid out with real food, protein, vitamins, hydrating fluids, things I hadn't tasted since arriving. How did you get access to? I began. Eat, he said. I obeyed. Halfway through the meal, I finally gathered the courage to speak. You said, earlier, before the fight, that if someone touches what's yours. I know what I said. Lucien cut in. Am I yours? Silence. He didn't turn, didn't move. But I felt the shift in the room. The air tightened. I braced myself for anger or cruelty or something sharp. But instead, he said something that chilled me to the core. You don't belong to anyone, he said quietly. But I need everyone here to believe you belong to me. It's the only way they'll back off. Why me? I whispered. Why risk yourself? He exhaled slowly, an almost human sound. Because 3 days ago, he said, your name showed up in a place it shouldn't have. I froze. What place? He turned around this time, face shadowed but intense. In the same files that were used to put me in here. The world stilled. What? I breathed. Lucien studied me like he was peeling back layers of my soul. You think you're the only one who was sabotaged, Theo? He asked. This prison, it's full of people who deserve to be here. But there are also a few, very few, who were handpicked for removal. Removal from society, I whispered. Silenced. Exactly. His tone darkened. Helixon Corp has been running experiments behind the scenes for years. Anyone who got too close, anyone who questioned the wrong process, anyone who discovered something they weren't supposed to. He tapped his chest lightly. They end up here, or dead. My heart hammered. The biolab sabotage case. You think it wasn't about me. You think it was about what you discovered that night. Lucien finished. And what someone didn't want you discovering. I felt sick. What did I discover? I whispered. He watched me carefully. The last security logs before your arrest were wiped, he said. But I got into the system. I saw a line of code you inputted into the scanner minutes before the alarms. I didn't. You did. He corrected softly. Only you didn't know it. Someone was remote running your badge, your signature, your access codes. They framed you with your own digital hand. My breath caught. A cold wave washed over me. It's Caleb, I whispered. Isn't it? Lucien didn't flinch. Your fiancé, my ex, I corrected bitterly. He accused me before anyone else. He didn't even visit me. Lucien's eyes sharpened. Because he knew you wouldn't survive long enough to talk. The truth hit like a punch. I didn't realize I was shaking until Lucien stepped closer. His presence grounding, steady, terrifyingly calm. You're not alone anymore, he said softly. Something warm, dangerously warm, swelled in my chest. It was then the alarms blared. A red flash, a thunderous warning, the sound of chaos erupting beyond the steel door. Lucien tensed instantly. Stay here. What's happening? I whispered. Sector breach, he said. Voice cold. A riot. My pulse spiked. Lucien. What about the other Omegas? What about Jax? You're the priority, he said. But I can't just sit. This isn't a request, Theo. But my instincts rebelled. Jax kept me alive. And there was River and Omega, who worked in the workshop sector. Someone I'd spoken to twice. Someone who helped me learn the layout. If the riot reached the lower decks, someone screamed in the hallway. Lucien, I whispered. Please. His expression darkened anger, frustration, and something else. Fear. Not for himself. For me. You step outside this room, he growled, and I will drag you back myself. I can't sit while people die. I cry. And then, the door burst open. A prisoner stumbled inside, blooded, frantic, grabbing me as a shield. Please, please. Ward, Don't, I screamed. Lucien was on him in a breath, a flash of movement so fast it barely registered. The man hit the wall hard enough to crack it, slumping unconscious. Lucien grabbed my face, not harshly but firmly, eyes blazing. You listen to me, he whispered. I will not lose you. I froze. Not use you. Not control you. Not own you. Lose. My heart turned over. The alarm still ripped through the air. His hand trembled just barely as he brushed his thumb over the corner of my lip. Then everything happened at once. The riot screams outside, the sound of boots, Lucien pulling me against his chest, shielding my entire body, my breath shaking, his sense surrounding me protective, furious, terrified, and his voice, low and rough. This prison took everything from me. I will not let it take you. My world shifted, the ground cracked open. Something inside me, something instinctual and old, recognized him. And then, the lights exploded. Everything went black. The contractions come like waves made of fire, not gentle, not forgiving, sharp, crushing, like something inside me has decided that time is up, whether the world is ready or not. Lucien's arms are around me before I even know I've fallen to my knees. His strength is the only anchor I have in the blinding panic. Theo, look at me. His voice cuts through everything, alarms, shouts, the trembling of my body. You're going into early labor. I know, God. I know, but I can't breathe. I can't speak. Because of everything, it's too much. The riot, the gas, the blackout in the corridor, the fight that nearly took Lucien from me. His blood on his lips, mine on my hands, the way my body has betrayed the fear by triggering labor far too soon. Another contraction hits. I scream into his chest. Lucien doesn't flinch. He only holds me tighter. Stay with me. Baby, he murmurs against my hair. I've got you. I'm right here. His scent wraps around me before I can fall apart, dark alpha musk layered with something soft, something grounding. Something that tells my Omega instincts I'm safe even when the world is falling apart. My whole body trembles. My baby. It's too early. I know. His voice is hard now, sharp, focused, but they're coming whether we're ready or not. And I won't let anything happen to either of you. He lifts me with effortless strength and begins moving, fast but controlled, down the flickering corridor. The prison PA system blares warnings. Lockdown initiated. Biosector breach. All personnel stand by. My pulse spikes. Lucien, the biolab, my case, does this mean? Yes, he whispers. And for the first time since I met him, I hear hope in his voice. They found the proof. The real culprit triggered the breach. It clears you. My heart stops. But who? Another contraction rips the question out of me. Lucien kisses my forehead. Hold on. We'll talk when you're safe. Safe. How strange it is that this prison, this cold place, became safer only when I was in his arms. He kicks open the med bay door. The lights flicker on automatically. Sterile white, the scent of disinfectant. A bed, machines, supplies, a robot nurse unit whirs awake, scanning us. Omega in preterm labor, risk level. Critical. No fucking kidding. Lucien lays me on the bed, brushing the hair off my face with trembling fingers. I can tell he's terrified, but he's holding it down for me. Breathe, he whispers. I can't. You can. You're Theo Arden. You survived betrayal, prison, and an entire system built to crush you. You can do this too. His voice is everything. His presence is everything. Another contraction. My vision blurs. The pressure is unbearable. Lucien, don't leave. His hand cups my cheek instantly. I will never leave you. Not now. Not ever. His forehead presses against mine. His scent floods over me. My Omega instincts cling to him like he's the only thing keeping me alive. Maybe he is. The labor is chaos. Hours of screaming, sweat, tears. Lucien whispering against my skin. Breathe. You're okay. I love you. Over and over. Yes, love. He says it without hesitation, like it's been sitting in his chest waiting for the right moment to break free. I scream again. The robot nurse announces. Final stage, push. Lucien grips my hand so tightly I almost break. I'm right here. Theo, look at me. I look, and what I see is salvation. I push through the pain, through the fire, through the terror. And then, a cry, small, weak, beautiful. My heart stops. Lucien freezes beside me. The robot nurse holds up the tiny, wriggling, red-skinned body. Healthy Omega infant. Premature but stable. 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 I sob so hard my chest feels like it splits open. Lucien's knees buckle. He covers his mouth, shaking. The nurse places the baby on my chest. Small, warm, miraculous. My baby. Our baby. Lucien reaches out with trembling fingertips and touches the little head like he's afraid he'll break them. There. Perfect. His voice cracks. Lucien Ward, the most feared alpha in the entire prison, crying because of our child. Hours later, I wake to quietness. Lucien is sitting beside my bed, our baby asleep on his bare chest, tiny hand gripping his dog tag. Lucien looks down at them with awe. You did it, he whispers when he notices I'm awake. You're incredible, Theo. I smile weakly. I had help. He leans forward and kisses me soft and slow. You had me, he corrects. And now you always will. Before I can answer, the door bursts open. 2 officers, flashlights, tablets. Lucien immediately rises, shielding the baby with his body. Don't touch them. The officers exchange a look, then bow their heads slightly. Lucien Ward, Theo Arden. Their voices shake. You're both being escorted out. The case is overturned. My breath stops. Lucien goes completely still. What? I whisper. The officer clears his throat. The true saboteur was captured during the breach. He confessed. The footage cleared you both. You're free. Free. The word feels like sunlight. Lucien looks at me, really looks, and for the first time, he lets the hope fully show. Theo, he says softly, dropping to one knee beside my bed. Come home with me. My throat closes. Yes. I breathe. Of course, Lucien, of course. He kisses me again, then gently scoops our baby into his arms. We walk out together, not as prisoners, not as victims, but as a family. The gates open. The sky, real, vast, endless, greets us like a promise. Lucien squeezes my hand. Welcome to your real life, Theo. And with our child held against his heart, we walk into the future that almost never came.